I'm Vinny. Today we're going to be drawing a monarch butterfly. I will be teaching you some techniques to really bring this drawing to life, but I want to remind you that this video, like all my videos, is about slowing down, noticing details, and enjoying the process. I do tend to draw quite slowly, so I sped up the video at some parts. Feel free to pause it and take the time you need. Let's get started. For this drawing, I'm using smooth drawing paper, a pencil, eraser, black pens, white gel pen, clear blender, a light gray marker, and colored pencils. You don't need the exact brands or sizes I'm using. Use whatever you have on hand. What really matters is technique. If you would like the full list of materials, you can find it in the tutorial notes. We'll start with a light sketch to map out the butterfly's shape and markings. I just searched online and drew this one by eye. I do have my pencil sketch you can print out and trace. If you'd like it, the link is in the tutorial notes. Now, monarchs have a distinctive wing pattern, so taking a little extra time here helps later on. Now I'm going to go over the sketch with ink, defining the edges and the main details. I like to start with the larger shapes first before adding the smaller details. Make sure here you're using smooth, confident strokes. Don't go over them multiple times, but don't worry too much if you make small errors. The little imperfections make your drawing feel more organic. We're really using this outline as a guide, and we'll be enhancing these internal lines more later. Once I finish my ink outline, I'm just going to erase the pencil lines. It's time to grab your black colored pencil and start shading in the black edges. I'm actually going to work in quarter sections for this drawing because I like to work out what I'm doing, and that also makes each segment more unique with the smaller strokes. Monarch wings have a rich contrast. Focus on where the darkest areas are, usually along the veins and edges. Take your time with this part, and remember, you can build up the shading gradually. I'm starting out just getting the black to cover lightly, and then I'll go back over with heavier pressure. The goal is to not be able to see the color of the paper behind the area we're shading. I'm also going to trace over these veins, mostly because I want to keep the color in the different sections and I don't want them to bleed together so that I lose track of the definition of the wing segments. Now I'm taking one of my ink pens. I'm using a Micron 01, and I'm tracing around these white dots that are on the edges of the monarch wing because I don't want to lose the white spots to the black that I've just done. I'm also going to go through and I'm going to add a little bit of texture to make the edge feel like it's a real edge. So what I'm doing is lining my pen right on the edge of my external outline and just doing a short flick, maybe a 1/4 inch, and just going up so it creates a bit of depth. You do want to be careful when you're doing this not to go through the white parts. And then I'm going to go ahead and retrace over some of these edges and veins. I suppose one thing you could do if you want to avoid going over these same veins is just use a thicker black marker. I just don't want to lose the delicacy. That's why I'm doing it in stages, but feel free to experiment. All right, it's time finally to add some color. I've just grabbed, honestly, I'm using Crayola orange right here. And whatever reference photo you're using, I want you to notice, if it's a real butterfly, that there's variegation in the color. It's not all just a static, solid color. So my reference is just a real butterfly out in the wild, and it's got some pockets of deep orange, some are a little more yellow, some even have a touch of red. So this is the part where you can have fun and play. You can try to make an exact replica of whatever image you're using as a reference, but you can also just make it up. And I think the important thing is just to not do every section the same. Let it be varied, and I think that makes it look more real. So I'm taking, as you can see, orange and red orange and yellow, and I'm using sometimes some light pressure just to create like a background wash. And then I can go back in with a different color and add some highlights, this time with more pressure, so that you can really darken an area or bring out the yellows in it or the reds. So again, have fun and play. I also sometimes keep a scratch piece of paper next to my drawing board so I can see what the colors look like mixed together. Again, our goal in all of this is to make sure we're covering over all the white that would be coming through on our drawing paper. And I'm trying to avoid coloring of the veins just because I really want those crisp and dark. A lot of monarchs also have this thickening of part of the vein, almost like a spot. So right now I've just blackened that in with my colored pencil, and then I'm tracing the edges with my pen and coloring that in. All right, now I'm going to come into each of the sections and add some of that same dashing technique that I used on the edge of the wing. I'm going to do that in each of these little segments of the wing now, of the color. And to me, this gives a little bit of depth and texture to the wing and to the sections. So I'm not pulling that line all the way through the section. I'm just, trying to let it be organic. And there is a bit of a flicking motion because we want it to go from thick to light. And that's a way of sort of shading and bringing a bit of edging in there. Now here I've decided I'm going to add some of that line work to the top edge of the wing as well to create that three-dimensional aspect coming out of the body. Now here I realize I've forgotten a little section of the wing, so I'm coming back in with my orange and my red orange and my yellow and just filling in that part that I missed. Let's take our white gel pen now and color in those white dots on the edge of the wings. Make sure you don't get this on the black part of the wing. I've just grabbed my clear blending marker now, and I'm going to go over these colored parts of the wing. And it's okay if I'm pulling a little bit of the black out of the edges of the wing because, again, we're trying to create a sense of this being a 3D object. So the clear blender, it really just does that. It blends the colored pencil. I find it almost as like gesso is to paint a little bit, that it creates this coat and really makes it solid so that if there is any white, it will really fill that in. I'm now taking a light gray marker and I'm going over the black edges of the wing where we have done the colored pencil work. Again, this just really enriches that dark color, the hue, and draws out any of the white. It will just really blend it and make it thicker. I have tried before using a black marker to do this, but I think it bleeds a lot more, and true black is hard to find and hard to create depth in it. So that's why I really go with a dark gray to keep the little bit of lightness that exists in a black colored pencil that allows you to do some shading and create that sense of a 3D object. All right, now that I figured out how I want to do each section, I'm going to go ahead and repeat that process on the other 4 sections. feel free to pause the video and take your time enjoying coloring in your butterfly. Okay, hope your butterfly is looking beautiful. I'm pretty happy with how this one's looking, and I'm going to get to work shading in this body. I'm using my pen to create some texture and then filling it in with colored pencil. Now keep in mind, this shape is almost like a tube, so the edges are going to be darker than the middle is. So as you're shading, just keep that in mind. Also above the sections or segments of the body, in between where those meet, that's going to be a little bit darker as well. As I'm putting my finishing touches on my butterfly, I just wanted to say thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed this process and took your time with the details. If you followed along, I would love to see your work. Please feel free to share and tag me. Remember, every drawing is unique, so embrace any imperfections and most importantly, keep creating. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.